Welcome to Your Thoughts, Your Reality with Michael Cole, the podcast that shines a compassionate light on the journey of veterans battling through life's challenges. Michael is a dual elite certified neuroencoding specialist in coaching and keynote training presentations, dedicated to guiding military veterans as they navigate the intricate pathways of post-deployment life. Join him as we delve into the profound realm of neuroencoding science, empowering these brave individuals to conquer universal battles, procrastination, self-doubt, fear, and more. Together, let's uncover the strength within you to re-engage with families and society, forging a new path forward.
Hello, everybody. Today we have our return guest, Dianna Sullivan. Absolutely fantastic guest and super excited to have her on. Dianna is a healer and mentor who specializes in guiding people through the emotional challenges of midlife and beyond. She draws deeply from her lived experiences, including her journey with a former spouse who served in the Navy and carried the invisible weight of war, which many veterans do. Dianna helps individuals face long buried traumas. This is super important, everybody. And she does some, I just got chills. That's how important it is, everybody. She faces long buried traumas that often resurface when life quiets down. So basically when things kind of seem like they're smoothing out, hello. And then after kids are grown, the roles begin to shift, which is really important, especially in the mid age group where life just starts changing. And that's when a lot of this stuff starts coming up. So with that said, I'm gonna sum all that up. Dianna is amazing. She's a rock star, and hope you enjoy this show. So Dianna, will you tell us just a little bit more about yourself that we didn't talk about yet?
Sure. Thank you so much. You did such a great introduction. I don't know if I need any more. I really am just passionate about helping people in this middle-aged time of life. I think that things happen to come up, like you mentioned, so much so for us when we get to this age and stage. And I think that the societal norm is kind of just to drift off, put yourself out to pasture, kind of zone out watching TV or drinking alcohol or, whatever. And there are many of us who believe that we are meant for more. And we have so much wisdom when we get into this middle-aged time that we're wasting it if we're just vegging out. But the problem is that, our old traumas are starting to come up because we have more time now. We're not so busy. We're typically not striving for the top of our career. Our children have, moved on there, or even by like 16, they don't need us that much anymore. Right. So that's all shifting. So now there's time and space, and those traumas are coming up wanting to be healed.
Yeah. Amen. It's funny you say that because, how often are you just moving so fast? And then, like you said, when you're getting a little older and you're kind of getting things, the work balance and all that stuff kind of figured out, you start thinking more, and these things start coming up. And sometimes you don't even know why you're feeling this way. This is the very traumas that I think we're going to talk about a lot. So before we really dive in, I just want to remind everybody on the top left corner of your screen, there is a blue QR code. Please scan that. And if you're listening on the podcast forums later, it goes to empowerperformancestrategies.com. Again, that's empowerperformancestrategies.com. There's all kinds of resources, guys. There's books, free ebooks. There's Facebook groups. There's all kinds of great stuff to get into the community. So please join that and be part of it. So with that said, should we dive in?
Yes.
All right.
Can I touch on what you just said real quick?
Yeah,
I think it's so important. You mentioned that people don't always know. And that's so important because I think, 95% of people don't know that this, it doesn't come with a little flag that says trauma coming up. It comes with numbness and sadness and like, I don't like the things that I used to like, and I don't even know what's going on,
Absolutely.
That's how it surfaces. So I just wanted to shine a little bit more light on that because I think it's really important.
And I'm glad you did. And of course, we'll talk more about it. It's funny because I always talk about, and it's the stories are different, but the patterns are very similar, right? Whether it's veterans or just humans in general, veterans are just a little bit different because of the conditioning and things from the military. But the the patterns are very much similar, right? Whether it's transition from the military, or transition from being an empty nester, or a divorce, or a breakup, or a job, they're all kind of similar. And even though you may not have trauma from a job or something like that, the patterns again start coming up after kind of the honeymoon period, right? So a lot of people, for instance, and let's just use military because that's our, what we're talking about for the most part. But again, it's the human condition, if I can say that. There's the honeymoon period of whatever time that is for that person when they get out of the military, or again, change jobs, whatever it is, where they are all happy and it's celebration, woohoo, and all the different stuff. And then life, Les Brown, I gotta say it, life be lifing, right? And life starts kicking in at some point, and that's when you start noticing these things. So I think it's super important what you just brought up, that it's generally delayed, not always, but generally delayed. And I'm going to say with veterans, it's probably a 9 out of 10, if not higher, that I've seen. So I think this is so important that we're talking about this. So with that said, I know we have our questions, but you know me, I just want to, so people understand that haven't met you yet. What brought you into this realm? You had a super successful business that you sold, and so on. So what made you want to help in this area?
It's an interesting story. I was actually in a relationship with a boyfriend who was very controlling and abusive, and he was actually in the Navy, and I'm sure some of his stuff probably came from that, and he was at a rehab center, and it was family weekend, and I went, and I met somebody who explained to me how I was attracting this into my life, which I thought they were crazy, but it was my own lack of worthiness and my own, issues from my own life growing up that caused me to be in that relationship. So I knew that I didn't want that for my life anymore. And honestly, I don't think I had enough self-worth at the time, but I didn't want it for my children either. Right. Just to be clear, they were not being abused, but to be in that kind of a controlling space in place, so what can I do to have my life be different going forward? That was the thought at that time. And then as I started learning things and learning healing work and all of these things, oh my gosh, I need to share this with everyone, was how I felt. So while I was running my successful company and being a single mom, I was learning a lot in the background. So about 10 years ago is when I started down this path of self-awareness, and, along the way got healing work added in, brain science added in, now I call it my trifecta: the coaching, the healing, and the brain science. They just all such a nice sauce together,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's, so many people aren't really that aware, right? Because they are just running and trying to survive.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely a gift that you've found this, and I will say this because I know you personally. You do amazing stuff. So, the world would not be the same without you. So thank you for everything that you're doing. Truly.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
My joy.
So let's dive in. When you think about midlife, okay, we're going to talk about that specifically. What makes this season such a powerful and often painful invitation for old wounds to resurface?
So we've stopped running. We're probably not in survival mode anymore. We've gotten survival figured out, and we're feeling like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is wonderful. And once your body starts to feel safe, now it's safe enough for those traumas to come up. Because when we're in the midst of chaos, those traumas won't come up. Not only are we just not busy, but they don't feel safe to come up. So now we're in this idea of safety. I'm in retirement, and I probably saved money, and, so I'm just I'm safe. So those things come boiling up to the surface. It's just the prime environment for them to come. And interestingly, it's not talked about this way, but they're gifts. There's so much wisdom on the other side of these traumas. And we feel like we're going to die if we feel those feelings, but it's actually the resistance of those things that are causing them to keep coming up. And if we just allow them to flow through, then they pass through and we get to be on the other side and gain the wisdom, which you ask, why is it powerful? And that's a big piece of it, right? We have so much wisdom. We've done so much. We've learned, I mean, just learning to survive is wisdom, you know? And then now we've got the icing on the cake here is these issues that we get to heal, and then we get to be even wiser. And the way we live changes. It's challenging because you go from run to, well, I have to stop and be still, you know? And it's a time where people sometimes choose vices, you know, whether it be, you know, binging on TV or drinking a lot or drugs or, you know, whatever the variety might be. And I'm not shaming anyone on those either, because I think it's important to say that, because I think people utilize whatever they utilize. And then when they're ready, you know, like, let's move forward. I'm done. And a lot of times too, what happens is those vices no longer work.
That's so true. So true. And I want to add, if I can, you know, we talk about the gifts from the trauma, if you will. When you go back, and I tell people this all the time, when you go back and you look back 10, 20, 30, 1 year ago, and you look back and say, hey, I made it through that. Yeah. And I learned from it, right? Because we've all been through shit. Let's just call it what it is, right? Yeah. We've all been through it. No one gets through life with everything being perfect their entire life. So when you go through it and then you look back and you're like, oh man, yeah, but I learned that, I survived that and I made it through. That's a gift. The realization that, oh, I've been through something and I can do it again. I can make it through again, and I can thrive on the other side of it. That's super important, right?
Yeah, I agree. It's super important. I was actually just walking someone through that yesterday when I was working with them. It's kind of the ability to zoom out a little bit and look at all of it. You know, we're often busy, especially those of us who have been taught, you know, to be strong and all of these things. And so we look at it and we're only in the right now, and we've been beating ourselves up for so long. So that's what's, you know, our neural pathways are doing. So we just continue to beat ourselves up. And if you actually take a minute and, oh my gosh, look at the past year, the past 5 years, the past 10 years, and eventually look at your whole life and look at all you've done and all you've accomplished. You've been trained and taught to, it's never enough. It's never enough. But when you take a second and look in the rearview mirror, holy cow, I'm actually really amazing. You know, also we've been taught to not do that, because that would mean we're, you know, boasting or whatever. But as we both know from our mentor, you know, celebration is huge. So going back and really celebrating yourself as you're in this process, as you're in this season of suck that isn't fun, you know.
Sorry. Season of suck always gets me.
Yeah. Well, it's not my original. We have to have Cindy for that one, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Cindy will be on in a couple of weeks. We'll talk about the season of suck or stuck in the suck. Either one.
Yep.
I love that. I love that you say that. And can I just offer real quick? Don't wait a year. Don't wait 10 years to look back. This is what I teach people, and I, you know, it's important. Write down, journal, or just write it down. If people don't like the word journal sometimes, but just write it down. All the things you want to accomplish in the day, and even better, at the end of the day, write down all the things you did accomplish and celebrate it. I mean, shake your ass, pat yourself on the back, big old smile on your face, because it trains your brain to look for the celebrations and look for the good parts. And it's super, super, super important.
I think I just want to touch on that too, because I think in this midlife time that we're talking about, it's so important because, you know, from more of a science kind of a based standpoint, your kids were giving you dopamine hits all of these years. And now those dopamine hits are gone. So as you're feeling numb and as you're feeling sad, that's part of it. And it really is, it's the stacking effect of how can I recreate that in a healthy, good way, you know? And one of the things is we're often, even though we're not as busy, we're still overwhelmed. And part of the overwhelm can even come from, I didn't have all those things to do anymore. Now I don't even know which one I want to do. So it's a little bit daunting. I mean, it sounds silly, but it's not. It's really something that happens. So to do that list, I talk people through overwhelm all the time. And the list is hugely important, because if you don't have a written list, your list is 5 years long. So you're never feeling that sense of accomplishment.
Absolutely.
And so it is so important that we have that, and I refer to it as a dopamine hit, so, and then when I go to bed tonight, absolutely, like you said, acknowledge it, write it down. I accomplished. And I bet not only did you accomplish what was on your list, you probably accomplished 25 other things,
Yeah.
stopping for milk on the way home and getting the laundry done and, picking up the dog from the vet and, whatever else. Like, you are actually so powerful and such a superstar. And if you want to pull yourself out of your crap, out of that season of suck, you have to start recognizing how amazing you are.
Amen. Amen. And can I say this, and because you brought it up, is you did accomplish so much more. Can I just say, wake up and celebrate you woke up on the right side of the dirt?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I mean, people are so, and I do it too. I mean, I catch myself, but I've trained myself to catch myself, right?
Right. Yeah.
Quickly. So, I mean, it's so easy to just move past all those little things that you should be celebrating that you accomplished. And here's the really big part for me with this is, when you do it, it changes literally your life. If you wake up knowing, oh, look, what I'm going to accomplish and learn today. And I actually do this. I wake up with a smile on my face. What am I going to learn today? What am I going to get to accomplish, right? And it changes your whole day. It's got chills again.
I did too.
It changes your day. And if you do that day after day, guess what? You're looking for the good stuff. You're not focused on the bad stuff. And the bad stuff, again, the perspective you put on it, right?
Right.
Can we talk about that a little bit? That perspective really changes the game as well. It takes you out of season of suck or day of suck to a season of gratefulness, if you will.
Yeah. It really, you nailed it on the head. It is so important. And people think that it's silly or, something like that. And when you take ownership of who you are and what your day looks like, it absolutely changes. So yeah, waking up every morning. I mean, I woke up this morning and I was excited to be on this, and I was excited to get my workout in, and I was excited that it was 17 degrees out today because it's going to be -19 the next 2 days, and I could actually walk my dog today. So you know what I mean? Whatever it is, the little things to the big things, but if you start getting yourself in that rhythm of celebration, it becomes magical, and, there's so many, like, there's silly little things and there's these amazing things. I was in my own season of suck right at the end of this past year. And as I came out of it, and as I had to apply my own things that I teach to other people to myself, so there I was, doing this. Okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to trust it, and they stack, so before you know it, you get that momentum going, and it's going. And I get a text from somebody who's offering me a free ticket to an event that's being hosted this weekend, and oh, by the way, I also happen to have points for it. And, like all of these things, if I pull into a parking lot, there's almost always a front spot for me. Like, it's just reserved for me, like you start doing these things. I don't ever stand for a long time in line at the grocery, like it's just, these problems and this stuff that just feels mucky, it all falls away because you're looking for it. We all know the idea of, like, you buy a car and you never saw that car on the road, but now that you have awareness of the car, you see it constantly. Yeah. Magical, wonderful things work the same way. So you start paying attention to the magical, wonderful things, and you see more of them left and right.
Absolutely. And I love that you say that, because when you focus on something, that's what you're focused on, right? If you focused on, oh, I don't have enough money, or I don't have the job I love, or any of the things, right? And you're focused on the negatives, you're going to be focused on the negatives until you change that. Right. So the more you can change into that grateful energy, if you will, the better. You touched on so many great things, but we've got about 10 minutes left, and I want to ask you this: with what you do, how much have you noticed? And it just ties into what you're talking about, changing that gratefulness from season of suck to that great season of gratefulness. I can't think of something else. To dealing with trauma, if you're in that different energy, if you will.
Yeah, it's a process, so I think it's really important that your expectations are realistic, because it's not going to change instantly. It's not going to change overnight. You will change overnight, but it's little increments, and it's that stacking effect that I was talking about. So you can't go from suck to everything is great, and it's interesting because the season that I just came out of myself, I was really frustrated because I'm a coach and I know better. So how come I can't get there? But I was trying to go from here to here, and we can skip some steps along the way, but it's just not realistic to, make that huge leap. So we have to be really patient with ourselves, and we have to be really, really compassionate, And I think for me, during that time, I really took myself out of socialization, because when you're in that crappy space, you're not nice, and I have a lot of self-awareness because I've been working at this for a long time. So I was really aware, and I didn't want to say something stupid or, be in that kind of space. So I just took space for myself. And honestly, that's what we need, alongside a coach is even better, that you're in that place of you're working through these traumas and these things that are coming up. You're so compassionate and you're so loving. The things that have happened, especially to the veterans and things, they're horrible things that people have seen, right? Mm-hmm. And you shouldn't have had to see them, but you did. So can we work through what that did to your nervous system, what that did to your body, and help to bring healing to it? And the greatest way to heal that is bringing love and light to it.
Absolutely love that. Absolutely love it. And it's so true. Being patient, all of those things, and being kind to yourself and compassionate, I believe is the word you said, which is the word. Truly, because so many, the thoughts, right? Your thoughts, your reality. Just saying.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
So if you're sitting there beating yourself up, that's your reality. That's who you are living. That's who you are being. You can choose otherwise. And who wants to stay there? So,
it really is a choice. And sometimes I myself feel frustrated that we don't teach emotional intelligence. It's such a huge thing to be able to work through that. And instead, what we've been taught is to be tough, to be strong, and
figure it out.
Right.
Rub some dirt on it.
Yeah. And guess what? I rubbed dirt on it and it didn't help, So what do I do now?
They rubbed dirt on it, got infected.
Yes, it got worse. That's a perfect one. And I think too, as we're talking about the person who's in that place, also the people around them, we all have a commitment. Well, let me say it this way. We all have a responsibility to our own happiness and our own stuff, right? And when we're in relationships, whether they be friendships or marriages or whatever, we can trigger each other. So when someone's in that place and space, can you give them grace? It's funny because we talked about this a little bit before the show, and I think I wasn't going to mention it, but my ex-husband was in the military. He was in the war, and he is a little emotionally unavailable, for my opinion. And I didn't have a clue or understand what that was. We were married, 20 years ago, and I didn't get it. And the biggest challenge to that is, or the biggest takeaway is, when I was young, I didn't know my happiness is mine. It is not his, So oftentimes, we get married and I literally was like, okay, so here's my happiness and now it's yours and I'll take yours to be mine. And that doesn't work, in case if we haven't figured that out yet, And so he was in a place of hurting and I didn't know that. and I had my own stuff and he didn't know that. And so how can a relationship do anything in that space, you know? So it's incumbent upon each of us to really work on our own healing and our own self. And especially when we're in relationship with someone who's been through a lot of trauma, you know, it takes an extra amount of love and compassion as we both work through. I sometimes work with, especially in this middle age, you know, there's a lot of people where marriages are not blissful, you know, and we don't really know if we even want to stay together right now, you know. And my biggest thing with them is, let's get you to a place of whole and happy on your own, and then you will be able to make the decision. The decision will become simple. It's not easy, but it will become simple to you of, okay, this is where I am. I am whole and happy. Is this other person in alignment with me or not? Can we work this out, and can this happen? And sometimes one person is moving ahead and growing and the other isn't. So that can be the challenge of that as well. Sorry, I kind of went off on a tangent.
No, it was beautiful, seriously, because so many people aren't aware. And it's beautiful that you said that, and there's so many amazing points in it. I do want to, first of all, acknowledge, yes, you're not going to change somebody else. They want to change, right? And it's frustrating, but once you realize I can't change them, I married this person, or I'm in the relationship with this person, or it's aunt, uncle, whatever the relationship really is, it's across the board, but you're not going to change them unless they want to. So the more that you go, you, the more they go away, right?
Yeah,
and
makes it worse
for that communication. So what my suggestion is always the same as yours: work on yourself first, and then when they're ready, communicate with them. Don't point your finger at them. Have a real heart open communication so that they don't feel judged. They don't feel all of those things, because that just, especially, it's a human condition. But again, I'm going back to veterans. They're going to pull away farther. And then once they go into isolation, we have real problems. Yeah. Right? That's when real problems set in for everybody and anybody. Okay? Yeah. So I think that's so important that you bring those things up. I truly do. And with that said, we're almost done. So is there anything else that you wanted to talk about? We got about 2 minutes. We can go over. Obviously, we own the place. So is there anything else specific that you want to talk about?
Just really that I think it's interesting. I do energy work, and, our bodies are made of an energetic field. I mean, we have EKGs and things that are very Western medicine that, take account for this energy. And sometimes there's imprints in the body of things that have happened along the way. So, releasing through crying, through, screaming into a pillow, growling, whatever it may be, is really, really helpful to release those. Also working with an energy healer who can get in there and clear some of those things also is really helpful. I also give so much credence to Joseph McClendon's work that you and I both do, neuroencoding, because if you do all these things, but your mind is still working against you, your brain is still working on keeping the old pattern because that's what it's there to do, it's not going to change. So it's really bringing all of those pieces together in order to move forward. Otherwise, you're back in the season of suck.
Ta-da! Cindy was on here for a minute. I don't know if she's still around, but she says she loves us both. Hey, so with that, do you have a couple extra minutes?
I do, but I need to plug in my computer. I'm so embarrassed. Give me 1 second.
Okay, so just listen, if you will, just so we can jump back into it. So, we didn't really talk about the energy work specific, right? So what I'd like you to talk about, if you can, is, once you have energy, is how does energy work? I mean, what is kind of the process? And again, we don't have a lot of time, but what you do is amazing. I mean, and there's Carolyn, and there's different people in our groups that do this, but most people don't really understand it. Right. So can you give like a kind of a brief explanation of what you do and, of course, how it helps?
Yes, yes, absolutely. So I personally do shamanic healing as well as Reiki and another modality called access bars. So I've got kind of a lot of different things working and going on. And I really set the stage before a client comes into my space. We're in it right now. It's my sunroom. I also have an outdoor space. And I invite in the four directions of the wind. They all have their own piece. The south helps us to shed our skin. The west helps us to see in the dark. The north helps us with finding the sweetness in life. And the east is the rising sun, the brand new day, represented by the eagle, which is fine details, as well as the big picture, which we kind of zoomed out before, right? Mother Earth for grounding, the Father Sky, God, angels, archangels, all those things. So there's a huge spirituality that's included with it and brought into it. And then so I am working with all of that. And so I tap in to all of that as I have someone either virtually on my table or actually on my table. And I'm being guided my whole way through. So I'm going through their energy field, tapping into it and just feeling my way through and feeling where anything might be there. I sometimes find energetic knife in the back kind of a thing, or calcification around the heart. And so using energy and some different tools that I have, including sometimes I break up energy with a drum or with a rattle, things like that. And so I'm working with their body to work through these things. So when someone gets up from my table, at a minimum, they feel like they've just had an amazing massage, you know. I have people who have said, like, I have not been able to quiet my mind in 10 years and my mind was still and quiet. Or people who haven't been able to cry because they've been resisting it so much, but their body feels really safe in that space. Mm-hmm. That's important too. One of the things that's, created in this environment is safety and love. And so those things come. Oftentimes there's messages in there as well while I'm working on someone. Sometimes when I'm working on them, I bring them into a meditation where I have them meet with their inner child or their inner elder or both. And so they're really I'm helping them to go within to find the answers for what they need. Yeah. There's various things that I love, the texts and the calls and the things the day after, the day after, the week after, where, oh my gosh, I just felt freer than I've felt in so long. And I'm able to do XYZ. And with me, I'm doing some coaching work and the energy work. So we're talking about a lot of these things too. What was that knife in the back? What did that mean? And, right. They always know. It's funny. I was working with somebody a couple weeks ago and there was a message on the wall. Well, because I'll get visions. So I'm visualizing and there's this message on the wall, but I don't know what the message is. And so I told this person this, and a week later, they came back and said, oh my gosh, I went to this exhibit and there was a wall and there was this message and it was so for me. And, so just things like that are really, really powerful. Sometimes our minds struggle with things. And when we're doing the energy work, it's getting past the mind and just getting in there and getting some of that gook out.
Absolutely. Absolutely love it. And I wanted to say this to anybody out there going, what? It sounds like rainbows and unicorns, right? I'm going to share something with you, okay? Try it once. Try it once. There are so many things that people don't realize until they've done it, right? Go back in your life and the thoughts or the rules you had, right, that have changed. Mm-hmm. Try it once. It is absolutely amazing. It's life altering. It truly can be. So
it is.
Open your mind, open your heart, and try it once. Because then you'll know, right?
And I'm offering a special right now for $97 if anybody wants to try it once, and just in this month of January here. So
I'll text you.
Remote as well as in person. So wherever you are.
Fantastic. And I was just about to ask you, are you offering anything? So thank you for bringing that up. And so lastly, I just sound like Joseph McClendon III. Lastly, even though we know it won't be, what are 3 tips that you would give veterans and their families to move further, faster, if you will?
Be gentle with yourself. Don't try to be the tough guy. And start today.
Love it.
You know,
absolutely love it.
Tomorrow yourself 10 years down the road. So start today.
Fantastic.
It doesn't have to be big, little things.
Exactly. 2% change, millimeter change, whatever you want to call it, gets you in a different place by the time you reach that destination. So amen. How do people reach you?
They can reach me by phone or text at 414-403-0261, or you can go to my website, which is diannasullivan.com. 2 N's, 2 L's, DIANNASULLIVAN.com.
Fantastic. So with that said, Dianna, I want to just thank you again for being on here and spreading your knowledge and your wisdom and your brilliance and your light. Time is the most precious resource we have as human beings. We don't get it back. So thank you for spending a little bit of your life and your time with us.
Thank you for what you do, and thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. We'll have you back on. There's too much more to cover. All right, everybody. We're out of here.
Thank you for joining us on another insightful journey of Your Thoughts, Your Reality podcast with your host, Michael Cole. We hope the conversation sparked some thoughts that resonate with you. To dive deeper into empowering your thoughts and enhancing your reality, visit empowerperformancestrategies.com. Remember, your thoughts shape your reality, so make them count. Until next time, stay inspired and keep creating the reality you desire. Catch you on the next episode.